have to get out of here.
For him and his business.
Murray's going to the surface. The outside world. Let's find a way to get up there.
Welcome to episode 3. Oh, for God's sake.
Cooper here. That was quite a hairbreadth escape. I think it's fair to say the girl is on Derringer's radar now. To reach the surface, she'll need to use the service elevator. To use the service elevator, she'll need a keycard. I suggest she borrow one from one of the clueless desk jockeys downstairs. Setting a destination marker for the media offices. Good luck.
Okay, welcome to episode 3 of République. We begin, as we so often do in video games, within sight of our destination, but at the wrong end of a long and circuitous path there. This game, however, takes this concept a step further than we're used to, by allowing us to use our camera hacking abilities to get even closer to our ultimate goal. Players who have learned from Hope's exploits thus far will note two things about these guards. The first is that they're wearing arc suits which protect them from tasers, and helmets which protect them from pepper spray. The second thing is that neither of them is carrying anything. And of course, obviously, there's something to collect down here.
Badges. We don't need no stinking badges. Oh wait, this is Metamorphosis. You need clearance just to use the bathroom. Never mind.
In case you needed it repeated again, our objective is to acquire a keycard. Now, obviously the first thing we want to do in this episode is to have Hope run all the way back through this hallway to the elevator that she just escaped from. Remember that little cliffhanger?
The way out is the other direction. What if Derringer's still back here?
That's a very sensible concern to have, but it ignores two very important points. The first is that there's a banned book back here.
I'll be taking this.
The second is that somebody, probably Derringer,
I can't carry anymore.
has dropped a taser on the ground that we can't pick up because we're full of tasers. Anyway, forward. Now, let's actually poke around this place.
Madame Prideaux, speaker, listener, warrior, mentor.
You say you were born in Marseille? That is correct. That's so interesting because I used to take holidays with my family in Cassis. Where in Marseille?
In the south part, near the bay.
Ah, which bay?
I thought this was a puff piece, Miss Said.
I didn't realise asking someone where they're from was a hardball question, Miss Prideaux.
Prideaux.
Well, you would know, I guess. Let's move on.
Shall we?
Take a moment to read the first half or so of this article. Matty's talent for trolling is incredible. The game's trolling a little bit as well. It could have put that cassette literally anywhere in this room other than somewhere that requires you to crawl slowly under a desk to get it, but they didn't. Anyway, I hope you all had your fill of this room, because it's going to be about 2.5 hours of gameplay before we see it again. Seriously though, why the desk?
Murray used a blue keycard to board that service elevator. If I'm to get to the surface tonight, I'll need to find a keycard like hers.
Thank you, Hope. One of the small ways in which Episode 3 ups its game is by making us sneak past guards before we've even seen a title card. But before we get to that, we've business with the data broker.
Good idea. My battery was running low.
Oh, and what confinement room would be complete without...
That's more than I can carry.
surplus pepper spray.
Welcome to my domain.
Once again, the thoroughness of our data scanning allows us to reap a green harvest of cash money. And believe me,
What would you like?
there is an application for that money.
That's radio communications.
This ability has a slightly ambiguous name, a frankly misleading description, and not quite the most helpful video. So here's the thing. This will freeze a Prizrak in place for 10 seconds.
Leaving so soon.
It is, frankly, obscene.
The arc suits are effective in protecting their wearer against taser strikes, but their Achilles heel is their lack of face protection, which makes them vulnerable to pepper spray.
Delay is not, however, an instant win button. All it will do for those 10 seconds is keep a guard distracted. They will still chase you if you walk in front of them, but they will be much easier to pickpocket or just to sneak past. If you're one of those people who actually reads the credits in video games, you might recognise this guy. His work managing voiceover production companies has caused him to pop up in credits from Metal Gear to God Hand. Let's mess with him. Right, the other thing about Delay is that it uses fully 3 units of battery, so you can't just spam it.
Remember to silence a body scanner before sending the girl through. A simple way to avoid seeing the inside of a confinement cell. Unless that's your thing.
Yes, it turns out that walking directly through the red lasers in the video game will trigger a hazard. Fortunately, we have an off switch.
Let's go for the steal.
What's that?
Get your grubby
Oh,
mitts off
come
me.
on.
Target neutralized.
It turns out that if Hope is accosted while unarmed, she will automatically use a pepper spray, and absolutely nothing that you can do will stop her from doing that. I guess it also turns out that the character who can intelligently orbit cover to keep out of sight can't position herself behind a guard while pickpocketing them. Video games.
Heading to the vent.
Meanwhile, here's a rare vent that doesn't require a screwdriver to access.
It's a good thing I'm not claustrophobic. This must be Terminus. It seems almost alive. This must be what the headmaster's protecting us from. Whatever it is. I don't want to wake it up.
Well then. The game isn't explicit about it, but between the aesthetic in here, reading between a line or two, and the name of this episode, the inference is pretty much crystal clear. This thing is a computer. Striking though it may be, interactively fascinating it is not. And far from being a terminus, this place is really more like a junction. There is absolutely nothing to do here except walk through one of the 4 doors. And by the 4 doors I really mean the one door that we actually have access to right now. Naturally, hanging a right from the sleeping hell computer, we find...
The Morning Bell newspaper. Weep says this is where they print the headmaster's lies. Do you think we'll find a keycard around here?
Honestly, I cannot recommend trying to make sense of the layout of this place. There's a screen on the wall of this room. It is scannable, but it is not intel.
No more toothless headlines about board meetings and strategy seminars. Find me something that won't put our readers to sleep. Go on, get out there! A good story doesn't just waltz through the office door and into the headlines. Now, I have a tough obit to write tonight, so if you'll excuse me, I'm going to crawl inside a bottle for a few hours.
Something tells me we're not going to see a breathless expose of Matty's drinking habits.
Fellow citizens, it is morning in Metamorphosis. Bells are sounding, awakening us to a new dawn, a new era. For this reason, we must approach the day with fresh blood, bold thinking, and a return to the unbridled optimism for which we are now famous the world over. Our nation's paper of record, the Evening Standard, served us well in our early years. But lately it cries out for recalibration, rebranding. We have decided on a new name. And with that new name comes a new face. I think you'll agree there is nothing standard about the woman standing next to me. And so without further ado, please welcome our new editor-in-chief of the Morning Bell, the exquisite Matilda Sade.
Thank you, Headmaster. And please, call me Matty.
My country also has a paper called the Evening Standard, and frankly I trust that even less than something printed in Metamorphosis.
Hello, Morning Bell staff. This is Quinn Derringer. Security Mandate 714 requires the installation of a confinement room in your offices. The PRISRAC need to expand their footprint in Terminus prior to the arrival. Pardon our progress this week as we take a few measurements and knock down a few walls. Please consider this a friendly merger and not a hostile takeover.
And that's how the weirdly ubiquitous confinement rooms are narratively justified. This place is an experience and a half to navigate, although you wouldn't think that just by looking at the map. But before we get to that, we actually have a need of some pepper spray.
Good idea. My battery was running low.
And of course, what healthy double-sized confinement room would be complete without an asshole tutorial poster that you can only see from one of the cameras in the cells that you'd ordinarily have no reason to use? Nope, not this one. Video games.
Certain PRISRAC in this area of the facility arm themselves with gas grenades. The effect will knock its target unconscious. Sweet dreams.
This makes the PRISRAC actually kind of a threat. We're probably going to see these in action sooner than I'd like. Before we head into the breach, let's appreciate some media.
There are challenges that improve ability, and those that merely prove a person inadequate for the task at hand. By leagues, Ulysses fits the latter category so well, it damn near creates it. It's nonsense without order. Joyce leaves postmodernism unmuzzled, worse than doggerel. To what end should we let our citizens waste the state's energy on this prattle? They squander their imagination decoding nonsense, while their work ethic grows brittle and raw.
I don't even know where to begin with the analysis, but I can think of at least one way to prevent the squandering of the state's energy on this.
You could double and magnify Whitman and still not come close to the obscenity of Ginsberg's Howl. Licentious sexual romps, drug use without state approval. How the American Republic tolerates what it gives birth to never ceases to amaze me. Those who allow the circulation of such trash are accomplices to corruption by implication, and our République stands for literary justice.
As is sadly becoming regular, I'm not very familiar with the source material, but I feel pretty confident guessing that it would be a stretch to call the headmaster's analysis shallow.
Skulls of the Shogun is a turn-based strategy game starring a dead samurai seeking revenge in the afterlife. The gameplay offers deep strategic choices, writing that is shockingly good, and a cool 32-bit vibe that makes you feel cool. I bet those fat cats over at 17-bit are happy. I have now purchased their game on 4 platforms, not that I'm regretting it.
I own this game twice and I've never played it. I'm pretty sure it was on PS Plus and has been in a Humble Bundle, which probably explains that.
Super Time Force Ultra is an indie tour de force packed with the following essential ingredients: retro pixel art, face-melting 2D action, time travel, hilarious writing, and a rat skateboarding dinosaur. If you are someone who thinks there's a serious lack of hip, innovative games out there, Dr. Cooper has just the remedy. STFU.
I've never played this either, but I've literally just now read on Wikipedia that one of the game's lead developers describes it as Gunstar Heroes meets that one level in Braid, and now I kind of want to. Note the out-of-order coffee machine here, and recall Matty Sade's comments about having her caffeine taken away from her. So this room is fun. It's an open-plan office. It's full of cubicles. 3 lanes, each one with a guard, and our objective at the other end of the room. There are gaps between the cubicles. There are holes we can crawl through. But where are they? Who the hell knows? Oh, and of course there's stuff to collect. And of course there's like 7 cameras in here. And of course, each camera can see only a very particular range of stuff, even when there's absolutely no physical justification for that. I don't like this room very much.
I'm not sure about that.
And here we see Hope actually refusing to move where we tell her. I don't know what causes her to do this. In theory, I think she refuses to do really stupid things like walk out right in front of guards. But I have video evidence that these instincts are very fallible. Now, gaming Jesus here has the potential to be a very big pain in our ass for the entirety of this room, so I wholeheartedly recommend cutting that particular knot and just tasing him.
Target neutralized.
Between him being out of the picture, the other guards sticking to corners, and all the chest-high walls in here, that pretty much gives us the run of this entire room. And that's great.
Reporting.
Not falling for that again.
I'll check his pockets. I got something.
Our biggest challenge now is just finding all the stuff.
Sega bomb. Terrorists almost certainly planted explosives inside Metamorphosis. That's a bloody good headline. Too bad we'll never use it. If you tell someone there's a monster under their bed, they'll check for it every night before they fall asleep. But if you tell someone there's a bomb in their wall, they'll rip the whole house apart looking for it. We're not in the business of printing the truth. We're in the business of suppressing a national panic attack. Take these printed copies up to the librarian. Let him line the bottom of his bird cage with them.
All of which is very logical, you know, from a certain point of view. But if this is so unprintable, why did they actually print it? My sympathies go out to Mr. Ricciardi. Inflammation of the mozzarella is not a pleasant condition to live with. Anyway, naturally the things that we have to collect in here includes a couple of books, so we are actually going to have to navigate Hope over to all these cubicles. It seems that Mattie, like Murray, knows exactly how big her cage is. She's just not dumb enough to admit it on record.
I don't know which dodgy back-alley journalism school you purchased your press credentials from, Parker, but you must have caught ill the day they explained how a newspaper layout should look, if they ever explained it at all. This collage you left on my desk looks like it was slapped together by a blind child. You left no room for inserts, adverts, ears, or bleed. You know the problem with you, Parker? You're so caught up with the substance, you forget that above all, it needs to look pretty!
In case it wasn't obvious enough from the fact that we're literally snooping around her offices, this episode, by which I mean episode of the game, not episode of the LP, we're going to be hearing a lot about and from Mattie. As concerns her little treatise on page layout though,
what's yours is mine.
She's not wrong, in principle, but I think she possibly hasn't ever actually looked at one of her own front pages. Come on. There. It's not too hard to simply get through this room if you're just interested in, you know, beating the main plot. But this game really incentivizes you to collect all of this stuff. More than most games, rushing through can actually give you this oddly tangible sense that you've actually missed something. Oh right, there's a freebie screwdriver here, we'll take that. Now, as to the right side of this room. Remember our hapless atrium guarding friend Casey the Dreamer? He gets a little bit of fleshing out here. It turns out his seeming ill-suitedness for a job with the Prizrak is actually foreshadowing for some tragic backstory. The guard over here is a little bit more irritating than his opposite number, because there's more that you need to do over here, and it seems like he's in useless positions from his point of view for a lot less time.
I'll check his pockets. Nice. I'll hold on to this.
Fortunately, because of the way this corner is set up and because of his patrol route and because of where the cubicle openings are, it's pretty easy to pickpocket him and grab all the stuff in one pass, so that's nice.
I can't carry anymore.
Unfortunately, the lockbox contains pepper spray. That's it from the cubicle farm. With McDonald out of the picture, getting in and out of here is basically a free action. That only leaves the conference room and the corner office. There's a very obvious vent here.
A Zager cassette.
Zager's death video has disappeared. This coming from my source in the Prisrag. More likely they just didn't care for the ending, so they're doing reshoots. As you know, in this day and age, nothing's ever truly gone. Track down the unedited version. I would love to compare it to Herr Director's cut.
And right outside the obvious vent is a pretty obvious Zager tape and a voicemail about Zager.
Heading to the vent.
I think this might just be the least missable Zager room in the game.
The screwdriver snapped in half.
Snapped in half.
A Zager room. Ugh. It really smells in here. I'm surprised the morning bell staff never noticed.
Plenty to appreciate in here, not least of which a free taser. Ah, I see the censorship software is working properly, if a little overzealously.
A subject near to Zager's heart. He wrote about this very issue in the Poisoned Manifesto. As with everything, Zager saw it as a government cover-up in need of undressing.
Zager doesn't write very much about Gulf War Syndrome, but he does note that covering it was what got him started on his particularly revolutionary strain of investigative journalism.
Zager kept lists like this one, to determine where citizens in Metamorphosis stood in case a revolution broke out. I guess I should be relieved he put me on the good side.
Man, KC must have really shelled out on that Kickstarter. Him aside though, nothing on this board is really news to us at this point. Except Matty's haircut. Jesus Christ.
That would be Derringer's personal office chair. When it went missing, Derringer immediately blamed me. I guess we can close the book on that mystery now. However, the mystery of how Zager got it through the vent remains unsolved.
I have two observations to make about this chair. One, it's autographed. Two, it has 3 wheels. This seems like a good time for more reviews, so let's get on that.
Solaf argues against nothing to hide, and disastrously fails to prepare his reader for the truth. Everyone has something to hide. Who can seriously defend privacy in a world defined by social media, populated by busybodies who voluntarily post their lives online, drawn like zombies to link bait their favorite alternative news site? We need a République to become the information-gathering sentinel of history. We fight against those like Solov, who would ruin history for the right to watch pornography without accountability.
Treglazov talks a lot of shit about social media for somebody who seconds later qualifies it as being a part of history. Props for coining the phrase alternative news in 2014 though.
Bad government fosters juvenile delinquency, and A Clockwork Orange pays tribute to it. Little Alex must learn on his own not to beat his elders with a cane. But good government has no patience for individual moral improvement, particularly now that Alex can hide behind the moniker Anonymous. The last thing we need are children free to cavort without oversight. The République carves up anonymity to sculpt the moral soul.
Well, I don't know what kind of weird swerve I was expecting.
Aptly described as a top-down, thumb-up hotline puts you in the shoes of a coked-up hitman willing to do anything to anybody. I'm not a fan of video game violence, but I can't help but appreciate its manic beauty. After playing a session, it's hard to shake the strange feeling it leaves me with. I don't like it. but I keep coming back for more.
What's surreal is seeing a game that handles violence the way République does directly addressing the violence in Hotline Miami.
When game designers sit down and think about what sort of game they should design for mobile, I bet many dream up something similar to 10 million, a bite-sized dungeon crawler with RPG mechanics and an addictive 3-minute gameplay loop. Credit goes to designer Luca Redwood for actually realizing his vision and building the quintessential mobile dungeon crawler. Most of us just stop at the dreaming part.
With the release of 10 million, dungeon crawling joined the hallowed ranks of genres that have, somehow, been successfully mashed up with Match 3.
I will let you in on a little secret. When the internet was abuzz with praise for FTL, I was only part of that chorus because I wanted to be cool. Normally I would be all over what is essentially Oregon Trail set in space, but I just couldn't wrap my head around its complex systems. Then one day, the game clicked for me as I successfully led my crew to the far corners of the galaxy. From there, I set my forum posting speed to faster than light, ensuring everybody knew I was a fan since day one.
I don't know about anybody else, but in my experience, knowing that a game is bullshit until the day it suddenly clicks, and then knowing that it was genius all along, is kind of a universal experience in video games. And with all of that accomplished, we are done with the Morning Bell offices. All that remains is to get what we came for. I honestly don't know if we'll be spotted if we make a run for it now. I don't intend to find out. Oh, hi Matty. Ah! Warn me before you show me that haircut again. Also, this is a suspiciously blank dossier. Who was it who said that nothing is ever truly gone these days? Anyway, let's sweep the intel before we move on.
Harold, are you sending me secret messages? Dear Miss Sade, let's not pretend the countdown to this day didn't begin the moment we hired you. As a seasoned newsman, I am disgusted to claim you as a colleague. You lack even a modicum of basic journalistic integrity and your investigative methods are grotesque and unethical. Blah, 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 blah. I have ignored your poorly researched writing for too long. But your article about Treglazov was a new low, even for you. That you would bend truth so plainly in order to defend a man such as him, and to do so without even the slightest regard for the reputation of this August newspaper is beyond the pale. Consider this letter your formal termination. Harold, you coward! You could have talked to me about this man-to-man! Wanker.
The text in this image is too blurry for me to be able to make out the name of the newspaper, but the logo at the top bears a very slight resemblance to that of the Daily Mail, which would explain a few things.
Have I made a compelling argument for metamorphosis?
You've been most illuminating.
And you've been a delight. Thank you for entertaining this nostalgic old fool for an evening, Miss Sade.
Please, call me Matty. And the only fool I see is the shaky-handed barman over there who went stingy on my gin. Time for one more.
I think another time. After this flight, I have 2 more, and then another lengthy voyage beyond that. I trust we'll meet again.
Perchance in metamorphosis.
Good evening.
Wait, you forgot this pendant thingy.
You keep it.
Man really likes these things, doesn't he? And hey, Matty has an owl statue too.
Rubbish! Every last word of it. This isn't how I thought I'd spend the eve of the arrival. Oh, Signor Octavo. I am so sorry. I must come to terms with the fact that I'm at least partially responsible for your death. And now I sit here, adding insult to injury, writing more lies on the wall of your coffin. I'm done. I've ruined enough lives. I refuse to taint their afterlives too.
Previously, Matty was dismissive of the librarian for presuming to still have a conscience. It looks like that's not working out too well for her.
Hi, you've reached Matty Sade at the Morning Bell. Please leave a message.
Hello?
Your stupid machine is on.
No, I'm stopping it. Hold on. There we go. Mireille, how are you, darling?
You loathsome.
Ah, not well, I guess.
I just spent the last hour getting slapped down by the headmaster because you thought it would be cute to create some pointless controversy around my drinking habits. You stupid, phony...
Phony? Well, if that isn't richer than the royal family. You're the phony, Mireille. You with your bogus name and manufactured accent. I am curious. How exactly did you manage to cultivate such a lovely and exotic French patois growing up in Blacksburg, Virginia? Miss Prideaux? Should I call you
Miss Sade?
If you want me to drop the issue, then you'd better drop the act. Ask me why I haven't shared that with the headmaster. What's the matter, darling? Cat got your tongue?
Another word about this and I swear to God I will end you.
There's the femshep. So that's pretty much Matty. Cynical, unscrupulous, admittedly regretful of late. But absolutely with a nose for a story and the talent to chase it down.
There it is. The keycard.
Leaving so soon? You'll need more than that to get out of here. It's all right. They won't come in here. Apparently they're afraid of me. Or what I'll write about them. Would you like a drink? Or would it corrupt your coding? You're a long way from home.
I don't have a home.
Do you have a soul? Do precals have souls? I used to. Until one night, I went to bed with the devil. I woke up regretting it. But I did it again the next night, and the night after that, and every morning I'd look at what I'd written and issue an apology. But that wore me out. Sincerity is exhausting. So I started faking it. As a woman, you learn to fake an apology. As a woman journalist, that's all you end up doing. So what's your story?
I'm escaping.
Good luck with that.
Do I have a chance?
Stupider people than you have gotten further in life with less help. You do have help, right?
No.
I see. Well, I thought I heard you talking to someone earlier. So what's your plan for getting to the surface? Because there's a pair of armoured Prizrak upstairs who like their jobs too much to let some empty-headed twit with a stolen mobile get the better of them. No offence.
None taken.
Well, I know a way to remove them. No blood, no violence. You won't have to get your hands dirty. You know what a news office calls their archives? They call it the morgue, the place where old news goes to die. But sometimes we'll bring a story back to life. Sometimes we'll raise the dead. Are you willing to summon a ghost or two?
Yes.
Then let's see which poor souls we're dealing with tonight. Edwin Chung and David Bowen. There are 2 data hubs on either side of Terminus, Atlantic and Pacific. Getting to them won't be easy, but you'll manage. Go, now.
I don't understand. What do we do when we get to them?
We?
Me.
Right. Find the Pacific and Atlantic servers. I'll call you when you get there.
Okay then.